Rough Night is a comedy about a woman, played by Scarlett Johansson, and she's about to get married, so she goes out on a bachelorette party with old friends. As they celebrate late into the night, a certain event happens, and it turns their night of fun into a nightmarish disaster. This movie is directed by Lucia Aniello, and she co-wrote it with Paul W. Downs. Yeah, that guy. Those who've already seen it know what I'm talking about. This movie contains a pretty loaded cast. The main star of this movie is Scarlett Johansson, and that got me looking forward to this movie because Scarlett Johansson is the shit. She's such a great actress, and she's easy on the eyes, to say the least. We then have Jillian Bell, Kate McKinnon, Zoe Kravitz, and Yana Glazer. All of these actresses have made me laugh significantly in the past, so I was hoping this film could really capitalize on that potential. And my god, did it ever. This film is funny as fuck. Seriously, this movie is a laugh riot from start to finish. I was honestly not prepared to be laughing as much as I did in that theater. There is a substantial amount of comedy in this movie, and it made me laugh consistently throughout. There's a few truly hysterical sequences that made my eyes water up as it blurred my vision to the point where I couldn't even see the movie for a good 10 seconds. I'm telling you, there's some really funny stuff happening in this movie. And it's also impressive to see that they were still able to establish a naturally smooth story despite there being so much comedy. One thing about that though is that it does throw so much comedy at you that not all of it hits, but a high percentage of it does. I would say its comedic hit and miss ratio would be something around like 10-1. This film accomplishes to be incredibly hysterical while also establishing some insightful character substance. Jillian Bell plays Scarlett Johansson's best friend, and she becomes jealous of Scarlett Johansson's Australian best friend, played by Kate McKinnon. And this aspect of her character actually leads up to be an important part of the movie where it explores a deeper dynamic between her and Scarlett Johansson. All of the actresses in this movie were real standouts. I'd hate to single anybody out as a standout because they all delivered and acted their lines extremely well. If I had to pick a favorite person that made me laugh more consistently, it would honestly probably be Jillian Bell. I thought she was phenomenal in this movie. But if I had to pick the person that made me laugh the hardest, it would have to be Kate McKinnon. Her performance really had me in tears, and she pulled off a pretty damn good Australian accent. Paul W. Downs, the co-writer I hinted at earlier, plays Scarlett Johansson's fiancé who's having his own bachelor party, and the situations that he goes through are amusingly dark and hilarious. There's a scene where he has an odd experience at a gas station, and it really got some huge laughs out of me. I thought he did a great job playing his character as well. I guess it's just a coincidence that he wrote himself to play Scarlett Johansson's fiancé, huh? Yeah, okay guy, you ain't slick. But what I also found to be refreshingly creative is that the behavioral roles of the husband and wife are flip-flopped. Scarlett Johansson and her friends are out partying, snorting coke, and hiring strippers, while her soon-to-be husband is wine tasting with his friends. And this film really utilized that and squeezed a lot of clever jokes out of it. Eric Andre was also a pleasant comedic surprise in this movie.
I'm not even here. Bird up.
There's a certain turning point in this movie that turns the girls' night out into a disaster, and it's at that point that this film's comedy turns darker and I started enjoying the film even more. I love it when a movie shows that it isn't scared to take those comedic risks and just go for it. I was really impressed with that edgy nature of this movie. I guess if I had to really nitpick something out of this movie, it would be that some of the events that occurred were predictable. The jokes still worked, but they didn't hit as hard as you wanted them to. But all in all, the entire movie's cast gave great comedic performances, and I found it to be gut-bustingly funny. It gave me a very fun and memorable experience at the movies, so I'm gonna give this movie an A. Rough Night currently has a 52% out of 98 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. That means out of the 98 critics that reviewed this movie, only 52% of them recommend this to a friend. I really don't see how that many people can walk out of this movie and not recommend it to somebody. I do really believe that half the critics really dropped the ball on this one because I highly recommend it. Seriously, take your friends to go out and see this movie. I assure you that y'all will have a great time. Alright, thank you so much for checking out my review for Rough Night. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the Misfit Pawn channel to be updated on more film-related content.